Hello, my name is Daniel Yuck. Thank you for watching today. I appreciate you, your time, and your support. In today's video, I would like to dive in and share the differences between round shaders and round liners when it comes to lining. So by the end of this video, you will be able to know the differences between round shaders and round liners when it comes to lining. However, should you have any questions at all, I encourage you to please drop a comment down below. Rest assured, I'm going to do my absolute best to assist you in the best possible direction. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and ring that bell for me, as I will be bringing more videos like this for you all. I do also have social medias under the same name as my YouTube channel. I have Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok, all under Daniel Yuck. I would appreciate the support over there as well. With that being said, let's get right on into this video. Off the top, one of the main differences between round shaders and round liners when it comes to lining is that round shaders can, for first and foremost, definitely be used to line with. But the difference is when we use round shaders to line, we typically get bolder results. So just because the word shader is within the title of the needle type does not indicate that it's only capable of shading. We can definitely 110% line with round shaders. However, we're just always going to get bolder results versus round liners. This snippet, much like the previous snippet, they're both done with round liners. The one before that, the first snippet, was done with a round shader, and you can see the difference. Round liners typically are easier also to penetrate the skin because the needle groupings are tied together. Even if it is the same diameter within the same needle range as well, round liners are configured closer together, which is going to result in a tighter line. This snippet does a great example at demonstrating the differences between round shaders and round liners. So you can see I'm creating this line right here with a round shader. The line next to it, you can see it's also really thin and fine. That one was done with the round liner. And this right here off the bat is a great comparison in terms of the differences between round liners and round shaders. One thing that I've noticed from using round shaders and round liners is that when we are trying to apply the same application, let's say lining for example, the way that I would go about lining with a round shader is different versus the way that I'm going to go about lining with a round liner. Let's say for example, I'm going to be lining with a round shader versus a round liner. Some variables that change could be anything from, but not limited to, maybe my posture is going to fluctuate, maybe my hand speed to my voltage, maybe I may be moving a little bit more slower, maybe my angle of my needle is a little bit different to compensate for all of the needles that I'm trying to capture within that line weight. You kind of get the idea. Those are some common variables that will be different when using round liners versus round shaders. Are you wanting to develop your tattooing skill sets? Now you can practice and develop anytime, any place with an assortment of tattooing workbooks that I've created. With these assorted tattooing workbooks, we can practice our basic lining all the way to advanced lining. We can practice shading, shading placement, dot work, textures, and more. All we are going to need is a tattoo workbook of mine. We can use a pencil, pen. We can even use a tattoo machine with a ballpoint cartridge to develop our tattooing abilities further. That means that we don't need tattoo ink, we don't need napkins or petroleum jelly to get to practicing. Simply open one of my tattooing workbooks and get going. It really is that easy. You can get your hands on one of my developmental tattooing assorted workbooks by simply clicking the links in my description or in the pinned comment section below, or navigating on over to Amazon.com, typing in Daniel Yuck, and you'll see all of the assorted tattoo workbooks that I've created come up. If you have an Amazon account, be sure to follow my Amazon author page as well, as I would greatly appreciate your support. Should you have any questions at all, drop them in the comment section down below. I will do my best to assist you in the best possible direction. With that being said, let's get right back into this video. For those who are wondering why round shaders are bolder over round liners, allow me to touch base on that a little bit here. Now, the idea is round shaders, whether we're using, let's say, for example, a standard 14 round shader and a standard 14 round liner. With a round shader, we still have 14 needles. With a round liner, we have the 14 needles, and all the needles are in the diameter of 12. The difference is round shaders are configured with the needles a bit more spaced apart, creating that bolder look, where we have round liners, the pins, the needles don't really have any spaces in between them, giving us a tighter needle point with all of the 14 pins. When I say pins, I am indeed referring to needles. So it's just kind of terminology that comes to me as I'm speaking to you here. You're going to notice, so in these snippets, for example, this right here is a round shader. All of the needles that are within this needle are configured a little bit more spaced apart, providing me with a bolder line. I personally love to use round shaders to line, as I find them more forgiving when lining. You're going to notice on this snippet right here, the needles get much more tighter, although they still have a little bit of boldness to them. They're grouped a lot more tighter, and I'm getting a much finer line. Just to confirm, we can line with round shaders. We could essentially line with pretty much any needle size, even a mag, but I'm not going to get into mags on this video here, as I want to stick to round shaders and round liners. With any size round liner, we can line. With any size round shader, we can line. I've pulled and created lines here that I'll show you here in a moment with 111 round shaders. I've created lines with 88 round shaders. I've created lines with 1 round liners as well. So that's pretty much everything and far in between that I've tried, and I've been able to create and produce lines with each and every needle configuration that I've tried. One thing that I've noticed is that when it comes to round liners specifically, when we are using, let's say, anywhere from a 1 round liner all the way on up to a 7 round liner, the mistakes that we make are going to show a lot more. They're going to be a lot more visible within the final read of our work. So let's say, for example, if we're going to be doing a tattoo that has a lot of lines and we're not comfortable using a smaller line weight, such as anything from a 7 round liner or below, then I would recommend trying to stay away from any sort of line tattoos that are going to require you to be precise, where all of the mistakes are going to show. Once we wipe the stencil away, stay away from any sort of design like that until you're actually fluid and comfortable with those sort of tattoo configurations. The lower that you go, the more our mistakes will show, is the rule of thumb. Then we have round shaders. With round shaders, mistakes tend to be a bit more forgiving, especially if we're going to be doing like needle wobbles a lot, where we kind of wobble in and out of our lines. Round shaders tend to not show these as prominent, and they tend to not be as visible when using round shaders. When we are just starting out, I feel like beginning with round shaders is a better way to go. You may want to start anywhere from like maybe a 7 round shader to an 11 round shader and get comfortable with the fundamentals there. Apply your learnings and findings on over to round liners and kind of build around that. You're going to notice right here in this snippet, I'm running an Inkclaw 111 round shader. I have to align my hand speed to my voltage. I have to have the correct needle depth as well to complete correct saturation and to get the line fully saturated the way that you see them here in this snippet. That right there is just kind of working up to. It's definitely not easy to get 111 needles to hit at the same time. So that right there, you kind of have to just develop and work into, which is why I would recommend starting at a medium and then working your way on over to small, and then maybe even larger configurations as you see fit. This needle size specific right here is an Inkclaw 7 round liner bold. So this is more of a specialty needle. This needle right here is actually an 88 round shader from Inkclaw. So you can see that I'm combining different line weights to create interest and quality within my tattoos. So I have a few elements that I love to utilize within my tattoos, such as lining. I love to utilize soft shading like smooth shading. I love to use stipple shading as well as dot works. And I use these different elements to create interest, layers, and therefore I can go ahead and start creating my own tattoos, my own mandalas as I see fit, using these different elements and kind of stacking and composing and compiling as I see fit as the artist. You're going to see right here, here's another line weight that I'm using. This is also the Inkclaw 7 round liner bold, and there is a tremendous difference between the 45 round shader on the outer edge versus this needle size right here. And again, these are little things that we want to pay attention to as we start progressing. I think the best place to begin is with a medium, healthy, comfortable place when it comes to tattoo needles. Start with some round shaders, build a familiarity, build a foundation, and then from there transfer over to round liners, and then kind of just work your way around. Be really patient with the process, as I really don't feel like this is easy. Anyone can tattoo, sure, yes. However, doing tattoos correctly and mastering them is a little bit different. Here is a snippet of a circle being created with an Amala. I believe this is going to be a 14 round shader. For me personally, 14 round shaders is one of my favorite needle sizes. I love 14, I love 11, I love 18 round shaders. Something about those configurations really hit home with me. I really love to utilize those. So if you're struggling with a place to begin, maybe try, let's say, a 9 round shader, 11 round shader, and kind of go from there. If you feel like the needle line weight is too heavy, go down to maybe, let's say, a 7 round shader or 5 round shader. You kind of get the idea. Start somewhere that you feel is naturally comfortable to you, and then work around there. On this snippet right here, if I remember correctly, I'm using a GMK 11 round liner. Again, round liners, you have to be more accurate. There is less room for error. Round liners are nowhere near as forgiving as round shaders. So when you reach for them, make sure that you know what you're using the round liner for. Make sure you know where you're going to place that round liner each and every time you utilize it within your tattoos. Here's a great example. This tattoo required me to use a smaller round liner. This is going to be a Stigma 003 round liner. And what I did was I just kind of build around this tattoo as best I could as I saw the stencil. And I just applied this tattoo to the best of my ability using this small configuration. I was very patient, calm with the approach, using the very tip of my needle to avoid any unwanted damage to the skin. You can see the tremendous difference in line weight within this snippet right here, where I'm running one single one pass line within this mandala to create this one line right here. And I believe this line right here is going to be created with an Inkclaw 45 round shader. So we can see the difference between this Inkclaw 45 round shader and the needle that was in the previous clip, which was the Stigma 003 round liner. I feel like using round shaders is completely different from using round liners. With round shaders, I move a lot slower, where we have needle configurations like this one right here, which is an OG Produce Standard 3 round liner. You're going to see I move at a quicker pace, and I tend to run at a 5.5 voltage range when I'm using smaller configurations, such as a 3 round liner, just to avoid any trauma to the skin. I kind of just slow my hand speed down, but I still can move pretty fast because it doesn't take much for a standard 3 round liner to penetrate and break open the skin. I think it's very important to note that we would not be able to get these type of details if we were using a round shader. We have to remember that round shaders are naturally more bolder, so therefore everything that I'm doing right here is going to be a bit more bolder than it's appearing right now. When we may not want that, I feel round liner is the most optimal way to go. If we need to be real precise with where we are depositing ink, round liners may be the way to go. Round shaders are going to be specific per application. I don't really want to kind of list off any specifics and kind of narrow you down and kind of limit you into what we can use for round shaders and how we can use these tools. I kind of feel use what you feel is best. Let's say if you're making a mandala that requires smaller configurations and larger, then use a combination of both. You kind of get the idea. I feel if you're reaching for a needle and it makes sense and you have it planned out, you know what you're going to do with the needle, then that's the right needle for the job. I feel like that it should be a natural process to select needles. It should all make sense, I feel, as the artist. But that right there is another main difference that I've noticed between round liners and round shaders. Round liners, we can be very accurate. With round shaders, we may not be able to kind of capture that accuracy. When it comes to textures, both needles are capable of providing textured results. It really just depends on the textured application that we're looking for. If we're looking for more organic, animalistic type of textures, then we may be leaning more towards a round shader. For like example, maybe a lion's or a tiger's nose area. A round shader can be good for different tonal textures, where we have, for example, maybe something with tight, dense detail. We may want to reach for a round liner, or let's say, for example, if we're needing to do some dot work, let's say if we're needing to do some stipple shading, pepper shading, reaching for a round liner may be more optimal than a round shader. However, to each their own. I encourage you to explore all the options, combine different techniques with different needles, and see the results that you get on your end. See where you can place these variables within your tattooing workflow. See where you can kind of combine all the results in your tattoos and see what you get. Another thing that I would like to touch base on before we conclude the video would be sculpting. Now, we can definitely sculpt with both round shaders or round liners. However, the results are going to vary much like textures. When it comes to sculpting, it really depends on the line weight that we are trying to sculpt. So let's say we're going to need a really heavy line weight, then leaning for a round shader to sculpt may be better because we can cover more ground with fewer passes. Let's say we're going to need to sculpt a more detailed area, reaching reaching for a tighter round liner may be the way to go, because we can be more accurate with the deposits. Now, I understand I'm getting a little bit off course from lining. However, I just kind of wanted to touch base minimally on those aspects as well. You can see within these snippets right here that I am combining a combination of different line weights, such as a 3-round liner along with a 11-round shader. And you can see that I'm also using other variables in between. There's like maybe even 11-round liner, 7-round liner in this tattoo design as well. I'm getting some pretty interesting results. I'm getting a pretty interesting read. Now, when I say interesting, that's not a bad thing. I'm getting a read that kind of makes me want to look at the tattoo more. Now, the fact that I'm also applying this tattoo cleanly to the best of my ability makes it for a better read. Now, when we apply it correctly and we see minimal mistakes, this is when it becomes a good tattoo, I feel. We have to apply the saturation completely correctly where it needs to be. All of the lines need to reach starting from their A to B point cleanly as they can, with few wobbles in between. You get the idea. If there's lines, then they need to be crispy all the way. I'm sorry, thicker lines, they should be crispy all the way through and consistent all the way the same from A to B as well. If we're going to be doing shading, it should be smooth and not patchy. You kind of get the idea. If we're going to be using dot work, it shouldn't be too heavy or overpowering. These are just all my professional opinions, and this is just how I feel in terms of designs like this. I feel like all of the inks in the right place will do this design justice. I actually have this design right here available, I believe, in an in-depth follow along, which you can check out on my YouTube channel. But that right there, I feel, is like a great place to conclude this video. Those right there are some basic differences between round shaders versus round liners. If you have any questions at all, I'm going to encourage you to drop a comment down below, and I'm going to do my absolute best to assist you in the best possible direction. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and ring that bell for me, as I will be bringing more videos like this for you all. I do also have social medias under the same name as my YouTube channel. I have Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok, all under Daniel Yuck. I would appreciate the support over there as well. With that being said, I appreciate your time and I thank you for watching. You have a great day. Are you needing or wanting tattoo guidance? What about 4K high quality step-by-step follow-along tattoo sessions? Or maybe one-on-one tattoo support to get answers to your questions that are specifically tailored to your wants and needs as the artist? You can now become a Patreon, where you will gain access to high quality 4K exclusive step-by-step follow-along tattoo sessions. I will be tattooing with you in a one-on-one step-by-step manner, where I will be explaining what I am doing and why every step of the way. I will also be doing this in a high quality 4K format for your optimal viewing experience. On top of the one-on-one support and on top of the step-by-step tattoo session guidance, you will also gain access to exclusive tattoo stencils that you can download and place on your end to further develop your skill sets. I will leave a link for you in the description or in the pinned comment section below, or you can head on over to patreon.com/Daniel Yuck. When you become a Patreon, you will be getting one-on-one support where you can ask me as many questions as you'd like that are specifically tailored to your wants and needs as the artist. You will gain access to exclusive tattoo stencils that you can download and practice on your end. You'll also gain access to exclusive high quality 4K footage where I walk you through each and every tattoo session in a one-on-one step-by-step manner, where I explain all the whats and whys along the way. Become a Patreon today. Thank you for your support in advance. I greatly appreciate you.